Okay, maybe that helps. So maybe I'm so bored that I forgot to turn the mic on. Yay. But what I was saying there, very profound, is let's take some time to thank or to congratulate the salty old Marine on getting hit to 10,000 subscribers. Awesome sauce. Well deserved, by the way. I'm currently bored out of my mind to the point where I just kind of turned it on because I was just kind of, just doing a thing. I was watching somebody, some other live stream, and decided to just crank on the old go live just so I could, I don't know, I guess compete with them on a short notice basis. But how is everybody tonight? Yeah, just chit chat. We're gonna chit chat tonight. We're gonna celebrate the salty old Marines' 10,000 subscribers. It's a big deal. It's a big deal, guys. I know that like my stuff is kind of slowed down. I don't know, but I'm about what is it? What am I at? I don't even know what I'm at these days. I don't even hardly look anymore, but 12,601. I'm about 12,600 more than I thought I would ever get. So I feel truly blessed by all of you guys. I was going to ask you guys what you thought about the video today and whether or not stuff like that kind of appeals to you, where there might be missed opportunities when it comes to like, just from my experience, like how conditions, especially like peptic ulcers, like I'm very confused why there aren't more people granted for peptic ulcers, since they're kind of easy to get service connected. I don't know. Just came out of community care for acupuncture. Oh, well, that's good. I mean, good on you getting your treatments in. Hey, James Douglas, thank you for subbing today. Or I just someone your channel today. Okay. I think you said subbed, but that could be me. I don't know. Thank you. I was trying to figure out, like, I'm not trying to be clickbaity or anything with it, but those are genuinely like my 5 different, like, I wonder why the veteran community isn't really, dialing into these. It's very weird. Oh, man. Yeah, the 5 one. That's the one I'm talking about. I'm also going to do like a top 5 of this is overly claimed. And when there's certain times whenever things are overly claimed, the examiners are really not feeling it. Like there's generally like an overview of like the majority of like sleep apnea due to rhinitis and sinusitis. Now I know that medically it's possible, but for whatever reason, the VA providers do not like it. It is just, it is rough. A lot of people. I got a peptic ulcer and treated after return of deployment OIF, but didn't even get 0% for GERD. That's because peptic ulcer is different. Peptic ulcer can be granted under 38 CFR 3.309A. And in the current iteration of GERD, you can get a much, much, much higher evaluation for peptic ulcer than you can GERD, because GERD now requires esophageal strictures. They don't keep getting deleted. They're not deleted. I'm seeing your posts. I'm seeing them all. Trucking. I'm just maybe not clicking on them, but they're there. Unless there was something else I missed. I apologize if that's the case. The short circuit. I can't look. I'm a pop culture, like I'm a little older, so I just reference. It just comes out of my brain. I don't know. Recommended writing a thank you letter to the reader. Oh, why is that, salty old Marine? I've got some other ones. Like I've got another video idea for the things that people could not claim historically that they can claim now due to TERA. So I'm going to be doing that video too. I'm going to be doing peptic ulcers. I'm going to be doing scars. I'm going to be doing all that stuff. We've got a lot of non kind of spicy content. We're just going to go back to the basics just because people don't seem to like the spicy content. Oh, Mr. Kimball is here. They stopped RBSRs due to production points. Yeah, like Mr. Kimball, I've got to talk. Like you and I should talk offline sometime about what's going on with the current situation and the rating criteria, because there's a lot of things that are kind of vacuums of knowledge. With all the skilled people leaving or retiring, they've had to make some extraordinary efforts, and it's very challenging, in my opinion, for them. There's also a lot of Ingram v. Collins things that are not being shared openly with the veteran community. So that might be something I maybe offline, maybe I'll shoot you an email or something. But yeah, so just kind of a short notice thing here, just talking. How do you change vendor for C&P exam? Current vendor does not have a provider within a 100-mile radius. You can sometimes call the VA and see if that, like if you do a Vera appointment, VERA, and ask to see if they can like reschedule the, or schedule it through a different vendor. Sometimes they can do that, but it's, it can be challenging. So oftentimes I recommend just asking for the VA itself to see if they have a provider. I saw your video for 5 least claimed, saw number 5 described me. 40% lower back, 20% for sciatic each side, but not sure if pain was considered. As to the other claims, I think I've stated pain before ankles. Can I claim pain for that? Yeah. So there's many different types, like, and Mr. Kimball can talk about this too. The intermediate step is oftentimes just associated with weight gain, but that's not factually true. You can have many different types of intermediate steps. So medications from service-connected conditions can be an intermediate step. Same thing with chronic pain. Chronic pain can be an intermediate step between different body system, like migraines and like a painful left knee or a painful back. They're not in the same body system. So it can be challenging. Examiners can only review what they've been told to review. So if they've only been told to review for whether or not the spine is connected to depression, they're going to put the blinders on, lock their knees, and pass out and just go, it has nothing to do. They're not medically linked together. So unfortunately, that's what they do. So yes, it has to be on the veteran to actually identify that chronic pain is part of that equation, because if not, the examiner cannot infer that. No matter if you talk about it, it's asked and answered. Intermediate step for weight gain is the same way. The examiner will not address weight gain specifically unless solicited to do so. So I don't know. If your channel now has me feeling that I know way more than my VSO, very likely, by the way. Yeah, that is true. And I am now submitting my own claims. Is there a benefit to using them at all? I would. So yes, there can be. So for information that is exclusively hidden behind the VA curtain, your service treatment records before you do a FOIA request and get those in hand, knowing what's on your DBQs and your medical opinions word for word, knowing what's in your ILER report and your TERA, using them to get that information, yeah, they have value. So that is something that I would consider. And also, if you guys haven't, go on over to Mr. Kimball's channel. He has been doing, I guess, some pretty good work. started a new training company that I saw, and that's I hope it's working well for you, sir. Submitted a 2680, but I have a secondary 38 CFR 3.310, but not on the 2680. Will the RVSR use my new contention or do a 4138 and ask nicely? So they will not. Okay, so the way that this works is they will not typically consider. I would do the 4138. And the reason why is because the 2680 is a claim form, but it's a special type of claim form. So if you had done this on a 526, it would be different, but I would just do it on the 4138 and ask nicely. That's how I would do it. Because there's going to be an additional examination. So whatever your secondary thing is, it's going to require you to have an economic like impact assessment type thing. 2680. I got to remember here. Aid and attendance. Sorry, aid and attendance. So for aid and attendance, yeah, you would need to have. Actually, no. Hold on. I take it back. So they will not consider it because it's an aid and attendance form. The doctor has to discuss how that secondary condition manifested worked on the 2680 form. So unfortunately, a 4138, after thinking about it, a 4138 will not actually do the trick on this one. You might need to resubmit the 2680. So, my teeth got fractured, broken off in an accident. Does that count as a scar? It doesn't count as a scar unless the tissue, like the mandible or maxillary, the skin around that area, if that skin is damaged, then yes. BDD claim. How long do examiners take to submit DBQs? C&P exam was 2 weeks ago. Still don't see it in my VA files. It takes as long as they take, honestly, because it's a BDD claim. There's no rush for them to do that. But if you want to say like an average time, 30 days, that's whenever they have tracked items, but they don't, unlike normal claims after you discharge from service, BDD claims don't have any like follow up to where they're really like harping on the examiners to get it done. Yes, Thomas, I can talk about that. I'll talk about that while I'm kind of finding another question here. So there is an actual way to claim your parents as dependents just for the VA. And you get the same amount of money as if they were a child. There's actually a form, a 21-509, and I'm gonna link it in the chat here for anybody that wants to. There's different criteria for it, so you're gonna want to actually research this before you just apply for it. But that's the form that you use to claim your parents as dependents, and they get to stay on there as long as they, are with us. So it's kind of a good thing to claim your parents. One of my parents is on my award, so it's a very nice thing, and it's one of those things that oftentimes the VA will not solicit to you to do. So they just the VA has a, if you didn't ask for it, then I'm not going to mention anything. So you have to, yes, it's the university. And I apologize if I didn't say that right, Mr. Kimball. Off to a great start. Yes. Good for you. I'm happy to hear that. That's awesome. My hubby just got a letter saying that he was now in priority group 1 due to being 90%. Does that mean he doesn't have to pay for prescriptions through the VA anymore? Yeah. Anything above 50%, he shouldn't have to pay for prescriptions. Unless it's something that's like really weird. Really, really weird. And the green logbook is here. Sorry, guys, I'm a little late on the comments. It's kind of a impromptu, but we got a lot of heavy hitters in here tonight. I feel very, very happy about that. And I will be doing a cardio video. In all honesty, the cardio system is a little bit more challenging just because there's a lot to mess up on that. So I like to take my time with that one. I'm going to be doing peptic ulcers and scars in the near future, probably tomorrow and the next day. And then Mr. Kimball, awesome. I'll try not to keep my live over yours. I am sorry if I'm not trying to steal anybody from you there. So we'll keep it short. Yeah. And I'm 100% P&T, applied for aid and attendance, was denied. To get me started towards SMCT, was rated 0% for TBI, 70% for PTSD, and they wanted to put all residual effects of TBI into PTSD. Is it worth it poking the bear? That's a challenging question, and it depends on your evidence. Now, one thing I would consider in the future is when they do the updates. I know that like everybody's like, oh, sure, they're going to do the updates on the mental health. But when they actually do the updates on the mental health, if they end up doing the mental health as they've kind of projected it out to be in the current iteration of what they plan on doing, then there's a chance for a lot of veterans to get rated at a natural 100% for mental health. And that will help you actually get to the SMC, the SMCT, the SMC S1 aid and attendance type situation, because there is a ladder that you have to climb. If you don't have S1, then you're not likely to get A. And if you don't have A, then you're not likely to get T. Does that make sense? I hope it does, original G1. Hey, MCM. Forgive my ignorance, but when you say solicit, who solicits? So the veteran would submit a claim, and the veteran would say, I am claiming my, and I forgot what it was. Oh, I'm claiming my depression secondary to chronic pain caused by my service-connected conditions of X, Y, and Z. And the reason why you do that is because once you say that the conditions are due to chronic pain, then everything that you mentioned that has chronic pain associated with it can synergistically be reviewed all in one. Like how much chronic pain combined, when you combine them all together, what does that look like? And that makes it less challenging for the examiners to try to service connect multiple things to mental health. Because if you just try to claim your knee, your ankle, and your spleen cause you mental health, they're going to treat that like as in you literally mean your spleen causes your mental health. And the reason why they can do that is because there are instances like hypothyroidism where the hypothyroidism can cause depression biochemically. So there's two different, like that's why that distinction has to be made, is because they treat it like it's hypothyroidism. But bummer. I loved his real take on what was happening. Who? I don't know. If I claimed a secondary and that exam request only asked direct, will the rater see the discrepancy? The VSR should see the discrepancy first and fix it. The rater is required to see the discrepancy, or that's a quality error. But is it possible that nobody sees it? Yes, it's possible that nobody sees the discrepancy and the veteran suffers. So it does suck. What if there isn't an ILER report in my file yet? How can I see if I have one? You'd have to go to a VSO or somebody with VBMS access, and you'd actually have to have them pull it up. Now, ILER reports, now this is key now. ILER reports only go into the report once you have requested for something that is due to TERA or due to some kind of chemical exposure. VSRs have to go into a separate program in order to pull an ILER. It's not automatically made part of your claim. You have to, how you claim things will cause an ILER to be generated. Now, if you're a veteran that served before 1990, you probably don't have an ILER, just to be honest with you. All right. Let's see here. There's some talking. I recently went to a C&P, the doctor asked me about things I did not remember and told me I should file because it is in my record, but I do not have it. That's one of the biggest challenges, and I'm going to take a second here. That's one of the biggest challenges to how you file your claim. If you file it yourself, that's the vulnerability. You don't have access to VBMS to see what's in your file. If you have a VSO do it, that particular, like if you go through a VSO, you're only like, they're only as good as what they've been trained. So unfortunately, even having access to VBMS sometimes isn't, an automatic win when it comes to finding evidence. You have to have somebody that's been in there and kind of, kicked it around. Raider, you had a video talking about extra. Oh yeah, I already did that one. I already did it. My C&P exams all resulted in a diagnosis, but no element 2 and element 3. If I provide the proper lay buddy statements and an independent medical opinion from my primary care, will the VA request another C&P exam? They technically could. So this is going to come down to the process, the internal process of when the VSR receives it, do they have enough to satisfy element 1, element 2, and element 3? And are all of those documents sufficient for rating purposes? So what they'll typically do, hopefully if they're doing it right, is they will get in touch with a rater and have the rater review the evidence. If the rater gives the thumbs up to the evidence, then they'll send it ready for decision. If they say, look, some of it's kind of not, like there's insufficiencies, or they'll do that review where it's an insufficiency review. If they deem that the medical opinion or the buddy statements are insufficient in some way, shape, or form, then that will cause them to have to review to see whether or not they can get an exam. Essentially burning one or the other, the private medical opinion or the buddy letters. Oftentimes, private medical opinions aren't completed accurately because they're missing some kind of procedural requirement. And it's really frustrating because you're not denied, or that evidence isn't disqualified due to it's not being medically accurate. It's denied for a technicality. So I hope that answers that. Hi, Maureen. In July 25, I had submitted claims paperwork, and last month I had a decision given at 90%. Since June of 2024, I've developed secondary issues like carpal tunnel pinched nerve in the neck. Okay. Well, if you have, then you can potentially get a secondary and try, and work your way towards the 90%. There can be definite value added to building evidence towards that end. Okay. Applied for TDIU, got denied on the decision letter and said proposed decrease prior to DRO rewarded me an increase. Should I do a supplemental with DRO increase decision or higher level review, or use an attorney? Okay. So this is the pain that comes sometimes from TDIU. The thing that most people don't understand is that TDIU is a claim for increase, even if you're filing it on a supplemental claim. There are opportunities that they have to get an examination to see if they can make you a natural 100, to see if the conditions, because you're saying that your situation got worse to the point that you can't work. So they're treated like an increase exam. And unfortunately, the thing that you need to understand is that a lot of people get decreases due to TDIU. That's why it's something that you have to, when you make that choice, you have to make it from an informed and educated position. If you don't, then you can be the victim of a decrease. And I do like Osama. I'm sorry that that happened to you. So what I might do is I might, in this case, go to an attorney because that's the option that you gave, because the attorney would be able to see the internal workings to kind of hopefully parse out which one of these isn't accurate. Now, the other thing that you can do is you can figure out what the decrease is for, get new evidence, and file a hearing, request a hearing due to the proposal to reduce, and challenge the fact that the condition has gotten better. You could do that too. So there's many different options in here, okay? Let me see here. Lifestyle changes. I'm still waiting on those videos. Good day, Raider. I'm currently on FMLA and short-term disability due to mental health. Can this support proving severe economic inadaptability for migraines? No, because you're on FMLA for mental health, not migraines. If you were on FMLA for migraines, then yes, that could prove severe economic inadaptability for migraines. But mental health is a completely different thing. That will throw whoever gets, like if you tried to claim it that way, it would throw the VSR and it would throw the Raider, because they would maybe think that you're trying to do an increase for your mental health. So it could have the unintended consequence of pulling your mental health to issue. Okay. Just keep that in mind, please. Raider, for claiming OSA due to obesity from lack of exercise from service-connected back and feet, do I need to just submit weight records from doctor and independent medical opinion about sleep study results? There's a little bit more to it than that. So the intermediate steps for obesity has two separate medical opinions. The first medical opinion has to do with whether or not the service-connected condition caused the weight gain. The second medical opinion has to do with whether or not the weight gain caused the sleep apnea. Veterans should always focus on that first medical opinion of the service-connected conditions causing the weight gain. That's where your lay statements and how you organize your evidence comes into massive play. Okay, because you need to show how your back caused you to not exercise or consume more food or have more caloric intake. Jason, fingerprints. I'm getting reinstated with my credentialing, so it's going to be relatively quick. But this is what Martin. I'm just going to say Martin. So Martin, the thing that you need to focus on is you need to focus on organizing your evidence to show how your service-connected conditions caused you to gain weight, because that's going to be the most subjective thing for the examiner to deal with, because you could have two separate people that are 40% for their back. One is skinny, one is overweight. How do you distinguish how your condition for you specifically caused you to gain weight? So I hope that helps you. I was granted a toxic condition through neck cancer, swallowing, tasting, the muscle spasms. My question is, I worry to submit another claim on and pile on. When would be the best to submit additional? If you're really concerned about that, I would wait until that claim resolves itself plus 60 days. So the reason why I say the plus 60 days is to allow for the quality review process to kind of work its way through to make sure that a quality error isn't found on your current open claims. Once that 60 days has passed, then you can start organizing your evidence with, clearly have an intent to file in for the next claim, but start organizing your evidence for these things because they will have died down at that point in time. Thank you. hold on. So this is a great question. Can a mother-in-law be a dependent if she lives with us and we claim her on our taxes? The answer to that is no. Um, like unless the veteran can only claim their birth mother, father, or to that extent, or legal guardian type father. And Herfet's voice, thank you for becoming a member. How would we go about to have the previous denied claims relooked at if he gets service connected with Hodgkin's, or a video I need to watch? I trust your guidance. It depends. This is going to be shameless, but in the near future, I will be under the accredited umbrella, and you can come to me then because I'll have access to VBMS and I'll be able to see. The problem with it is guessing. Could you go to your VSO? Yes, you could go to your VSO to relook at the previously denied claims, but that information will be filtered through whoever you go to. Okay, so just keep that in mind. But you can go to a VSO. Anybody with VBMS access technically will get you across the finish line on that one to see, but you're reviewing their, like, you have to wait for their information. Because it's not just looking at VBMS, it's looking at how things were interconnected, looking at the behind the scenes documents. So like the true medical opinion, the exam request, what evidence was actually given to the examiner. There's a whole different, like if I was looking at a sufficient way to review your claim, there's a lot of facets to it. So I hope that helps. I prevailed at my Board of Veterans Appeals thing. My back pay is inaccurate. What are my options? Thank you for your expertise. Well, number one, congratulations on your board victory. The thing that you can do is you can, if you feel really confident in it, you can always do a higher level review and just say, but you have to be able to point to the reason why they didn't adjudicate it correctly, because the rater adjudicated it. The board probably said, hey, this is service connected. Now, rater, you take this, you take this and you do something. That is weird. But that's either that, or you can potentially do an audit. You can request to have an audit done. I think I'm putting out a video on audits tomorrow. Let me see here. Yeah, financial audits I'm putting out. Actually, it's going live at 6 p.m. tonight. There's a video on audits. It's just a brief video about the changes that they made. So go ahead and watch that. But those are my two suggestions. Now, the green logbook, in what scenario would one add your parents? If you provide any kind of financial support to your parents because they need you to, like you pay a phone bill, you pay a power bill for them, that's a time in which you can claim them as a dependent. And I put that form in there. It gives you the instructions. So it tells you on that form the circumstances and instructions as to when you can and cannot. Keep in mind that both parents have to, well, not both parents, but both the veteran and the parent have to sign the form, or parents if you're doing both parents. But yeah, it's something that is very infrequently used, that is an option to many veterans. So definitely look into it. Is there a cause for concern if ACE examiner does not call during a scheduled appointment? No, it depends on what it's for. And this is the really challenging thing, is kind of like getting the crystal ball out and trying to figure out what they're doing it for. If it's for a medical opinion, so if this is like an exam rework in which you got an exam and then 3 weeks later it goes back for an ACE exam, that's typically the rater kicking it back because you got a negative medical opinion, and they're typically looking at different theories before they deny it. So they're doing the duty to assist. And an ACE exam for like a medical opinion doesn't require you to be a participant in that. So I'm not going to say that's every example, but that's a lot of the time. That's my take on it. Why don't the VA hold the VA PCP to VA Directive 1134? I think most PCPs don't know about it. The problem is because they want the PCPs. Now, this is just my opinion. They want the primary care physicians to be doing their job. They don't want them to be filling out DBQs. They want you to be they want them to be treating you. So that's their purpose. So that's why they get discouraged a lot of the time. At least that's why I got discouraged from completing them whenever I worked there. But another thing about that is, and I'm going to go into a small micro rant here. This is one of those situations where the VA does what it wants to. And whenever I bring that up, people get very, very, very upset at me. Whenever I say, well, that's not how the VA actually works. And people will say, hey, look, like this is a perfect example of the VA doing what they want. There's a regulation that tells them to do something, but they're doing what they want anyway. And it's very frustrating as somebody having worked there. And even before I worked there, it was frustrating dealing with it because you're like, what remedy do I have to make them do the thing that they're supposed to do? And a lot of people, I don't know, it's hard for them to reconcile. Your hypertension video was spot on and very thorough. Thank you, Raider. Well, thank you, Jess. Appreciate it. I try to make them, we're trying to make this as veteran friendly as humanly possible. I got told the other day that I'm a little too highbrow. So I'm a little too highbrow. And I think, I sound very uppity type thing, but I try to make it as, user friendly as humanly possible. But sometimes this is legal. Like the Raider side of it is the legal requirements. Like what are the legal requirements? Or how do you propose your evidence in such a way that you satisfy all the legal requirements? So sometimes I can be a little over the top in my suggestions. And it's just honestly because I'm trying to make sure that, the veteran has the highest likelihood of success. I had a DBQ completed over a month ago due to being remanded from a law judge. He also advised to redo TERA. Today, I was informed that a medical records review is going to take place. Why? Oh. So a medical records review is a form of claim. It's a type of claim. So it's where they're trying to correct something. If they don't have an open claim, they typically use that. They can use that EP to fix the TERA memo and kind of do what they need to do. So it looks like they're trying to fall in line with the law judge is what I'm saying, what I'm seeing, but hard for me to tell completely. So I hope that helps. Look, every time I personally do a real take on stuff, people lose their ever-loving mind. I mean, they get mad. They unsubscribe whenever I give my personal opinion on stuff. Like with the, what do you call it? With the fraud DBQ type thing, with the BI tool. There are people out there who just do not understand. Like, it is very hard for people to understand that private DBQs typically get a more favorable outcome than VA DBQs. So a lot of people online are saying, well, there's going to be nothing happening with this. They promised that they aren't going to reduce anything. And that's what they said, right? But if they find fraud on a DBQ, are they going to keep the information in that DBQ and rate you the same way? No, they're not going to do that. They're going to send you for a new exam at best. What happens at the new exam? You go to a VA provider. Do VA providers provide higher or lower evaluations typically. And guys, anybody that has submitted their own private DBQ only to go to a VA provider and have a drastically lower evaluation can attest to the fact that this will have an effect. You just have to look at the complexity of the situation in order to see it. But I'm not going to talk about that anymore because I lose subscribers whenever I talk about that. And they get so mad. They get so mad at me whenever I talk about stuff like that. Is there a standard Gulf War general medical exam? Yeah, there is. Had a C&P exam today, and the examiner told me they only categorized the contingencies under Gulf War bucket to establish presumptives. Is that true? There's a specific medical opinion. So this is another thing where people call me a liar all the time, even though I can show you the actual medical opinion. Gulf War medical opinions, there's 4 questions. In order to be granted under 38 CFR 3.317, the condition must be medically unexplained. So in instances where the condition is not diagnosed or diagnosed and it's medically unexplained, the rater can grant. In situations where the Gulf War claimed condition that falls under the Gulf War 38 CFR 3.317, in situations where the condition can be medically explained by another cause, the rater cannot grant under that. So there is a medical opinion for it, and that's the way that works. So like if you have IBS, but you've also had IBS that started after you had a bowel resection, then IBS is medically explained by the bowel resection. You can't get it service connected under 38 CFR 3.317. So you didn't miss anything, Disrobe Crown. I'm just bored. I'm very bored. I think the other Salty Marine deleted his account. Yeah, he did, unfortunately. It was sad. And I agree that there's a lot of vet versus vet feuds going on. The Green Logbook. The only problem that I have is that sometimes whenever like education needs to happen, there are some instances where sometimes people are saying things that are factually not true. And you've got to wade into that nonsense. Like you've got to pick a side. And I mean, I've picked a side on a very controversial topic and I seem to be in the minority on it, but I'm like, I'm also somebody who has literally witnessed and participated in national work queue special projects in order to fix erroneously adjudicated claims. So, and like a year, 2024, okay, I participated in a national work queue thing where OIG had found that a bunch, like whenever I say a bunch, nationally, a bunch, like over 50,000 claims type thing, were erroneously adjudicated to not give veterans the full benefit of 13 and a half months of convalescence or temporary 100% for having a hip or knee replacement, total hip, total knee. So it was something that OIG found. They took our RO, they remanded that we review those claims, and we had a special project. So that's why it makes me not laugh, but it makes me very, very sad when people go that the VA is not equipped to handle like reviewing those million DBQs, those historical million DBQs. Do you know what happens with that? They assign overtime. And then 6 months later, those million DBQs, old historical DBQs, they were reviewed. It's good. Like it doesn't take that long for VAs to burn through, for places to burn through claims. It honestly doesn't. And they don't get credit for claims that are fine. They only get credit for claims that they have to change something. So it doesn't count towards the overall, like, you know, we did an extra million claims. Well, if 900,000 of those are fine, the VA won't get credit for doing them. So, but once again, this is me literally telling you internal stuff that they don't understand, that the people that disagree with me, which they can disagree with me, I'm fine with that. I'm not saying that they're wrong, or they just don't know what they don't know, unfortunately. So yeah, and it's just weird. Like, I don't know. I got to get down here. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit and try to find some good questions here. Hey, Raider, does having total occupational and social impairment box marked on the PTSD DBQ along with 2 or 3 of the symptoms from 100% criteria guarantee 100%? Yeah. I mean, typically, yeah. Guarantee is a strong word, but like 95% of the time, yeah, you're going to be 100%. But the problem comes whenever the rater looks at the DBQ. If you've got adjustment disorder, like if you had adjustment disorder diagnosed and you've got 3 things in the 100% where you have total inability to do your ADLs and you've got like hallucinations and delusions and whatnot, I'd question the diagnosis. So I'd probably kick that back for an additional, like, aren't you, isn't there a better diagnosis for this than what you gave him? Because that seems a little light. But, oh, okay, hold on. I didn't go live on Facebook, but I guess we're going to go live on Facebook. Okay. Let me see here. Okay, so we got 2 questions here. All right. I mean, I'll try to. Wow. Okay. MCM. That's a lot, but okay. I'll try to maybe afterwards get to that. I'm at those fingerprints. I already got the fingerprints done, but and it's just they're going to reinstate my credentials to be on VBMS, so it's going to be awesome. I separated 40 years ago. I'm now 61. I witnessed a gang robbery while in service, and it gave me PTSD. I've never told anyone or went to the doctor in the military. Can I file for PTSD and anxiety? Technically, China, yes, you can. But there's 3 different requirements here. So you need to go to the doctor and see if you have PTSD. You need to also find some kind of evidence that that event happened, that personal trauma happened. Newspaper article, I don't care what it is, that shows the date and the time. So that way you have corroborating evidence showing that you were there at that time. Pardon me. Once you get all that evidence together, yes, you could potentially file for it. Success will be determined by your evidence. Okay. If the vet was service connected first at 0% for conditions, but then was later adjudicated, but only one of the 4 was backdated, do you file a higher level review or 0995? Sometimes evidence cannot be overwritten. So if they were first service connected for 0% and at the time that's the evidence mandated it should be 0%, you can't overwrite that evidence unless you find a clear and unmistakable error. That's every day and twice on Sunday. Like that's the way that works. Now, if there was evidence at the time in which the rater failed to utilize or the examiner failed to utilize, then yes, you might do a higher level review. Because that's what the higher level review is for. It's like filing a grievance with your union. You know, you're saying, hey, look, the organization is not following its own policies and procedures as evidenced by this, this, and this. Does claim complexity or RO impact higher level review timing, or is it basically a first come, first serve type deal? Neither, but I would more closely equate it to a first come, first serve, because your higher level review are done at like DROCs. So it's going to be up to the DROC location regional office where those things happen. I mean, I don't really know that much about it because of the siloing effect where they tell you to just mind your own business, do your own job. So you don't know that much about DROs other than what you kind of interact with. T-Bird, so pissed. I went to an exam to correct an exam where an examiner said I had hip replacement. The same examiner faked my ranges of motions. Oh my gosh. This new examiner took correct range of motions, but she faked them as well. Oh, wow. Oh, gosh. I'm so sorry. Let me find T-Bird's part 2. Said hip flexion greater than 120 degrees. No way in heck. Was maybe 30 degrees. What to do? You can honestly, you can contact the C&P examiner main vendor and just report that fact and try to see if they'll give you a different exam and just be like, look, it's especially true if you have like in this situation, I would have corroborating evidence in your, like, have your doctor maybe do a range of motion test and include that in your record. So that way you have something to go, okay, how do I have 120 degrees whenever my own doctor says that I've got 30? I mean, if it's true, obviously. So, and sometimes examiners can get a little dyslexic. Okay. So it can be a little challenging. Hi, Raider. I just submitted a claim for PTSD, MDD, and insomnia. The day after I submitted it, they released an ILER IDES, maybe. Why would they do this for mental? They probably just do it for mental because they're trying to, okay. So this is going to seem stupid. This is going to seem really stupid, but this is true. Sometimes VSRs will pull an ILER and do a TERA memo for the points that they give, even though it doesn't help the current claim. If an ILER or a TERA memo hasn't been done before, they want those 0.63 points to do it. It's free points. If they don't do it, the next person will do it. So they oftentimes do it just so that way it can be done. It doesn't move your claim forward. It doesn't delay your claim. And even if the QRT, the AQRS, call them out on it, it's a non-critical error. So they don't care. They'll get the points all day. You can slap my hand if you want to. I'll take the points. It's not a real TERA for mental health, though. It's I'm doing this thing that takes me 5 minutes to do to get a lot of points towards my day, so I have to do less claims over the day. It's very smart, actually. A lot of VSRs and whatnot. Yes, 4 points. Yeah, they get points for completing the TERA memo, but the TERA memo doesn't get pushed with the mental health claim at all. So they get points for doing the exam for the mental health, and they get points for the TERA memo. So it's just, it's a little greasy, but I understand why they do it. I mean, I can rationalize it. I may have done it in the past too. And her vet's voice. Wow. Okay. If you guys haven't went over there, go over to her vet's voice. Tasha, main host of the channel. I'm trying to remember that. And then there's also Natural and FF, who are 2 current raters who answer a lot of questions over there. No strings attached. But go check them out. I always tell people, watch a couple videos, see if you like it. If you do, stick around. The more good voices we have out here, the better. I have a current diagnosis for SA. Sleep apnea, was treated for sleep disturbances and sleeping pills prescribed during service. Buddy and wife statements claim deferred for secondary MO. Did I miss something? The problem is that sleep disturbances typically means mental health. Sleeping pills mean mental health. It doesn't mean apnea, typically. So that's the part of the thing where you have to be very, very careful in how you word things. Sorry. Deep Bright just said something hilarious. So yeah, so you have to be careful with that. That's kind of what you're missing, is that sometimes it could be misunderstood. 1/2 veterans. Wait, what? One of two. All right, sorry. Veteran service connected for tinnitus for 2 years. Then vet did vertigo secondary to tinnitus claim. They combined and made tinnitus with vertigo. Is it common for the VA to go back and do a tinnitus ACE exam? It is not common. The only time it might be common is if the veteran has vertigo or not vertigo, Meniere's disorder, Meniere's disease, because Meniere's disorder and Meniere's disease can be separately granted for the vertigo, or it'll be under peripheral vestibular disorder, but that's a very specific niche case. And they're going to be doing a live next week, Her Vet's Voice, on veteran employment and accommodation, so check them out. I don't mind it if people promote their own channels on here because I like it. More voices means more good actors putting out good information means that the bad actors get choked out. How long before you hear about your fingerprints? Maybe in 3 weeks or so. But that's just me. Let me see here. We're at 5:12. Let me go to a couple questions here. So Her Vet's Voice became a new member. Mr. Ray, Raider, have you heard of an examiner stopping a cognitive exam due to the examiner saying lack of effort? And what does that mean? Mr. Ray, I would probably say that is malingering. That is a pseudonym for malingering, a synonym for malingering. So I would think that they're just saying that the veteran's malingering. So that's not a good thing to have happen. So that could be the examiner. That could be the veteran. I don't know, but it's definitely not a good thing for a rater to see because it starts that internal bias. If I see lack of effort, I say malingering. And that's not something that you want to have a rater see because they won't go the extra mile for you. And Jennifer, thank you for becoming a member. I appreciate it. And let's go back here to where we were. We're going to try to find where we are. Biggern. Nice. They are still working my claim. Is it too late to submit for a long form narrative? No, it's not too late because the rater will definitely read that document. Just be very nice and just kind of explain why you want them to. Will helps vets. Why is it nearly impossible to get a C&P exam results via FOIA request or blue button? We see C&P exam DBQ in 1 in 100 blue buttons, and we get them via FOIA 1 in 50 times. These results are necessary for appeals. They are. And that's why, look, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist here, but that's why, like, it's kind of like pushing you towards the accredited side of the fence, right? Like, there's a difference between guessing and knowing, and you need that stuff to know. Not knowing that information drastically reduces your ability to successfully appeal something that has been denied. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That can happen. Hey, Raider, I'm doing a higher level review for effective date. Okay. That is going to end badly. Okay. So you have to be very sneaky when you do a higher level review for effective date. You cannot tell them until the time of the informal conference that you are going after an effective date, because technically that's a form of a clear and unmistakable error. And you have to file that, like, they'll close the claim if you say it's due to an effective date. I submitted a new claim for low back, got a letter stating I needed to do a supplemental claim, did the supplemental claim. It's not much to go on here. So if the effective date of the grant, I assume that you got awarded on the supplemental claim. 38 CFR 3.2501 is the CFR that's used to award effective dates for supplemental claims. You have to follow that because there's two different key points in there that says the date the entitlement arose or the date of claim, whichever is later. So if you did not have a current diagnosis in the first claim, then your effective date cannot go back to that first claim because the date the entitlement arose happened in the second claim. The date you were diagnosed did not happen in the first claim. It happened in the second claim. So that's going to be it. No VSRs can be requested within VBMS core. VSRs can request an ILER. Oh, can they? Yeah, they can. That's an update. Yeah, that'd be nice though. Was awarded 20%, but wanted to find out if I could win my effective date to the previous submit. Yeah, it's based upon what I said though. Not telling. I'm not telling you that. Hey, Raider, did I make this clear enough or just confusing? I might have missed your question. I think I missed your question. But we're going to keep going. Obstructive sleep apnea is secondary to PTSD with weight gain due to service-connected musculoskeletal conditions with emotional eating due to, like, as an intermittent. Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I mean, it's long, but it's fine. We uploaded my medical records to VA for neuroinfection claim, and the VA created an 18 contentions claim, 14 secondaries, total nightmare. 11 C&Ps went to one nurse practitioner for an hour-long session. That's a hot mess. That comes down to, I think, competency at the intake. So so it's kind of weird that I'm sorry that happened to you. I don't know what else to say other than the VSR probably needs a new some more training. What if you drive 12 hours monthly to parents to go fix stuff around the house? It comes down to bills. If you look at the actual form itself, I think it's the 21-509. If you look at the form itself, it talks about what's their income versus expenses and what do you cover. So unfortunately, I don't think that would cover it. I want to be on your wait list when you get accredited. Since I suggested a wait list, I get first spot. I'll see what I can do. When it hits, it's going to come fast and heavy. But you'll get to one of the two perks. You'll get to see who I am, and you'll get to know my name. That's the two perks. And, well, actually, that's one perk. We'll say you get to see who I am and know my name. And then the second perk is that you'll get what I would consider semi-competent advocacy. And that's, I mean, it's just as simple as that. Because I'm trying to figure out kind of a slogan for this, but claims companies guess. And VSOs can look, but they sometimes guess too, because they don't know the internal process. So I'll be able to see and not guess, which will be nice. What is a request for application AMA letter? And what does it mean generally? I can tell you what it means 100% of the time. It means that the thing that you claimed was previously denied, and you filed on a 526EZ when you should have filed on a VA Form 20-0995. That's what that means. 100% of the time and twice on Sundays. Now we are waiting on the informal conference via higher level review. This is super frustrating for the vet. Meanwhile, we got his buddies 70% to 100% never deployed. I wouldn't focus on that so much. Okay, like that's okay. Veteran community. I'm going to speak to you for a second. Okay. Never judge yourself by what's happening around you. Like whatever your peers get, don't judge it like that. Because if you do, you'll sometimes be chasing an outcome that doesn't apply to you based upon your evidence. You don't know what evidence they have. You don't know what evidence the other guy had. So it's not the healthiest thing to do in the world to go looking for whether the grass is greener on the other side. Unfortunately, a higher level review takes as long as it takes. But compared to whenever I filed my claims back in like 2005, 2008, I had to wait 3 years for an exam. So although it does suck, it is drastically better than back then, man. And they are nuanced, Jay. Jay is right. They are nuanced. So, and I am a little uppity sometimes. The system is very complex, and I will attest to that. It is very complex, and it is so frustrating. It is so frustrating to people as to why it has to be this weird dog pony show hide and seek of the truth thing, and it's just apples oranges tricycle. Half the time, it's very alarming. The other thing that's alarming is memorizing all this stuff and having it in your head and nothing to do with it. So to be so bored that you just want to talk about stuff so it stops cycling in your brain is part of the reason why I do the lives. I had a very good IBS C&P, talked about severity, frequency, all the symptoms, along with chronic IBS or chronic severe IBS medical diagnosis and colonoscopy results. Rating just came in at service connection at 0% due to bloating. Okay, so this is where I suggest, this is frustrating right here. This is insanely frustrating. The thing that gets you higher than 0% is how often you have painful defecations. If you go into the 38 CFR Part 4 under 7319 diagnostic code, the first sentence, the first part of that sentence is painful, like abdominal pain, this frequently. And then it says you also happen to have bloating and you also happen to have diarrhea or whatever. The remedy for this is, number one, you got service connected. Congratulations. This is not going to be hard to fix. You just need to start identifying these symptoms in your treatment records currently. If they don't want to write it down, shoot them a secure message talking about how painful your abdominal stuff is or whatever's true for you. But you literally, and this is the part of the thing with, the claims process, you have to mirror those symptoms. They've got to be able to point to them and look at them and see them, because the veteran's testimony oftentimes falls on deaf ears. Your testimony oftentimes doesn't ever persuade the examiner because they don't want to go out on a limb. They want to look and see, oh, he's got painful defecations once a day or once a week. Okay, I can reference that. Yes, I agree with that. They want to agree. They don't want to trailblaze. So you need to push that evidence. Okay? And yes, Jay, it is a launching pad for success. 0% is a launching pad for success. French is Mexican. Okay. Says, where exactly in VBMS would a note show regarding a DBQ? Well, there's going to be two places. In VBMS, it will be attached or tabbed in the document section on the document itself, on the DBQ itself. There's one note there. In the claims tab, okay, under the claim notes chevron, that's the other place that you can find general notes, okay? But the note, there should be a general note in the claim notes, and then there should be a tab in the actual VBMS documents showing why they disqualified a DBQ. Digital, I will try to get to it. Hold on. I'm way up here, higher up than your guys' questions. I just sometimes pick them out. And claims companies do guess. And guess what? They get to take credit whenever the evidence was there, and if you filed the claim yourself, you would have got the same outcome. They get to take credit for that. They also get to blame the VA whenever it doesn't go right because they guessed. So that's something. David. Yep, I am. I guess I am. Ask everybody that knows me. Okay, so, and I want to make sure that I catch digital's question. Okay, so let me go with 525. Okay, so let me go here. Snowcat, I just found out I need FESS surgery from the VA's ENT. I have been diagnosed with chronic sinusitis and chronic rhinitis. I had 8 through 9 sick call visits for upper respiratory infections. Is that enough to direct Service Connect? That's enough to show element 1. What we need to know, Snowcone, is we need to know what theory for service connection could you be granted under. Are you somebody that went to Southwest Asia during a qualifying period and could be granted presumptively under 38 CFR 3.320? If so, that's how I would lead with it. If not, you have to figure out, how does this tether to service? How does this tie to service through the different theories? Is it direct? Because, okay, chronic sinusitis and rhinitis, they can be direct, secondary, they can be TERA, they can be 38 CFR 3.320. Those are the ways that you can. Oh, thank you, Digital. That's how they can be service connected. And Mr. Ray, how does the veteran combat the statement by the examiner? The examiner stated that the veteran had extreme anxiety and extreme depression. The veteran's treating psych doc and outside psych doc already have diagnosed vet for the same thing. I mean, sometimes, okay, Mr. Ray, it's not that we're trying, like sometimes you just lean into it. If the examiner's just redundantly stating what is true, that's their job. Their job is to corroborate existing evidence and go, yep, I agree. Now, if they're saying something to the contrary than established medical, then the way that you combat that is that you have additional evidence in which you have a different doctor take into consideration all the evidence that the examiner reviewed and come to a different conclusion, providing a more complete medical rationale, which is very, very, very challenging. And then Jason Van Sickle became a member. Thank you, Jason. And then finally, CJax. Sorry. Single mental health claim. I have had 2 CMPs. Claim status has moved from prepared to decision to pending decision approval, back to preparing, and now back to pending approval. Odds it's going to go back to evidence, probably low, to be honest with you. Pending decision approval means that the authorizer and the rater, the authorizer took an issue with something in the rating decision that the rater did. Either the effective date was wrong. That's commonly what happens, is they didn't consider the effective date correctly. That's oftentimes why it gets kicked back, or if the rating decision was premature. So it could be, easily explained, very, very not critical stuff involved. Oh my gosh, you guys. So just keep that in mind. How often do you see lower extremity radiculopathy diagnosed in C&P exams? Quite often. Secondary claim filed, not by me, before diagnosis. 4 doctors notes different diagnosis as radiculopathy via service connected for degenerative disc disease, but no ICD code yet. Okay. What happens in this is if you've never been service connected for radiculopathy before, you're going to get a spine increase. That's going to happen. That happens. If the spine increase happens, then whatever the examiner finds during their examination, they can diagnose it. Radiculopathy is one of those ones where it quite oftentimes gets diagnosed for the first time on the spine DBQ based upon your credible statements. It has a high likelihood of success. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. The fact that you do have 4 doctor's notes with differential diagnosis of radiculopathy is good, and it's not a deal breaker that you just have this, okay? So just keep that in mind. Let's go back to the normal questions. And let's try to find out where we were. Raider, wouldn't it be difficult to overturn 2 C&P examiners' conclusions examining your hip? To me, 2 C&P examiners will trump an independent medical opinion. That's how steep hill to climb. So not necessarily. If you get your claim denied 18 times, 18 different examiners say no, what happens when you get a yes? You get a yes and you get granted. It doesn't matter how many times that you get denied. What matters is that the medical evidence, the most competent medical evidence, the most thorough medical evidence, authentic, credible, sufficient, says you're granted. At that point in time, they say yes. Now, if that granting, the best practice for that, for an independent medical opinion, is to have that independent medical opinion, if possible, account for all those previous denials. Whatever the examiner said, have that new examiner account for those denials and say, although I do acknowledge that this practitioner said this, it is more medically appropriate under this, this, and this. Those are the ones that I would go, yeah, nice. Honestly, I've had situations where somebody has been denied so many times until they actually get a specialist in there that legitimately reviews it, accounts for all the denials because the veteran was thorough, and then, presents a masterpiece to me. I've granted it. I mean, almost clapping the whole time. It was great. I've seen it, and it's a good feeling. That's something I need to do a video about too, is the psychological ups and downs of raiders and how rewarding it is to be able to grant somebody, especially in situations where they've been denied time and time again for technicality nonsense, and to have them finally get adjudicated correctly. It is so hard. It made the job worthwhile. Even if I was having a crappy day, that would make the job worthwhile. Hey, I put in a claim that's been at stage 5 since 3/5/2026. That's not bad. I just noticed yesterday they put in an increase on my 3 existing claims, even though I didn't ask for it. What's going on? I don't know. I would go to a VSO. I would have them pull up and see what the claim notes say and see why they're doing what they're doing, because typically they have to. What tracked items are involved? That's another thing. Tracked items can typically tell you what's going on with the claim, why they're doing what they're doing. Her Vet's Voice is a good YouTube channel with 2 raiders whenever they go live stream for questions. It's true. It's true. Will a veteran get flagged for having a licensed family member complete a nexus for said disability? No. No. As long as the evidence is correct and all the information that they put in there was accurate, and they completed the DBQ completely, and they didn't say things that were like a whopper, like a fish, was it a fishman's tail? Old fishing tail? No, then it should be fine. Can you touch on presumptives for IBS, sinusitis, and rhinitis? VA doc states I have all 3. What do I need to do? Well, as long as you have a diagnosis for them, they're not going to be granted under the same criteria. IBS gets granted under 38 CFR 3.317, which is the medically unexplained multi-symptom illness disorder. And for IBS, if you're claiming it under that, okay, you have to honestly have no clue what caused it. So IBS claimed under 38 CFR 3.317 cannot have a cause. If you walk in there talking about how NSAIDs cause this or GERDs cause that, you will shut down your ability to get it granted presumptively. I'm just going to say it. Oh, okay. That's interesting. Only my members. Oh, interesting. Okay. Sorry, I was reading what Mr. Kimball was saying. So 38 CFR 3.320, which is the presumption for burn pits, is associated with sinusitis and rhinitis. Sinusitis and rhinitis are easier to get granted presumptively because there's no medical opinion involved. IBS does, in fact, even though it is technically a presumptive condition, have a medical opinion for the Gulf War general medical opinion. To ask that question, does it have a cause or doesn't it? So it's as hard as your evidence makes it, unfortunately. Hey, Raider, do you have an email address or an inbox that I could ask you a quick and private question? I mean, technically I do. It's raider.hq@gmail.com. But I got about 3,000 emails, so I can't get to them. My family threatened me with bodily harm if I spent too much time on my emails. It's not the best video in the world, by the way. Skins forever. It's a video talking about a change that happened for the what is it on? Oh, for the financial audits. And I'll give a little bit away for the financial audit change is that authorizers, if you do a financial audit, they can consider it a claim for increase. So just keep that in mind. That's the main, like if you want the bottom line up front, that's the concern I have about that change is because it specifically states that you ended up that you could be seen as a claim for increase. IBS must have 6 months of symptoms and must have medical evidence of symptoms. Correct for 38 CFR 3.317. If you're claiming it due to something else like directly or secondary, that 6-month requirement isn't an absolute. So if you just had a diagnosis and you got that diagnosis 2 weeks ago, technically, and you were claiming it's secondary to something else, that 6-month requirement's only if you're claiming it as a MUCME. Technically. Now, unfortunately, I have received a call from my wife, so I am going to probably need to go here in a minute. So let's just answer as many as we can before I get my wife's aggravation goes out of control. Raider HQ, can it be plausible to alternate severe restless leg syndrome instead of the vet's popular sleep apnea claim? Restless leg syndrome is rated under 8520, which is a neurological condition. So restless leg syndrome has nothing to do with sleep apnea, technically. I know that sometimes they say that it can, like sleep apnea can cause restless leg syndrome, but they're not the same thing. You could get both of these and it wouldn't be pyramiding under 38 CFR 4.14 or 4.7 even. I think I got sidetracked, but I'm not down there yet, digital. I'm not down low enough because I'm like 40 minutes behind. Let's try this. I think I got it. My husband was denied for OSA service connection via intermediate step obesity. Gained 25 pounds, PTSD rapidly once started. Okay. They denied because the same weight in the military. Interesting. So technically that can happen. Now, if you did a supplemental claim, okay, if you okay. So technically what you would need to do is you would need to discuss that weight gain. If the PTSD started in service, it's not a I don't know. I might go with TERA on this one, just to be quite honest with you. Sleep apnea can be granted direct, secondary, and TERA. Yeah, if he weighed the same amount, then the intermediate step of weight gain would be kind of nullified. So you might have to go with a supplemental claim for TERA and try to do it that way. Because you can't get around the fact that if he weighed the same then as he does now, then how did the PTSD medication cause it? You know, because of it. Yeah, it's a logical issue. So, oh, okay, here we go. But they looked at the incorrect weight. Okay. So I might correct that fact. So how you would go about doing that is you would get a new provider and you would have that provider address those points, right? That the weight gain actually makes sense if this, and this. So that's probably what you're going to want to do. Raider, thank you for all that you do. Claim GERD secondary to anxiety. Never had a C&P exam, but they received an email that loyal source would do the exam. Then I got a denial due to TERA, higher level review. Yeah, I'd probably do a higher level review. If you didn't get an exam, then I would do a higher level review, potentially, or a supplemental claim, depending on how confident you feel with your rating decisions. All right, here we go. Hey, Raider, what can we do about fear and rage bait on YouTube about the AI coming from your claim videos? What can we do about the fear/rage bait on YouTube about AI coming from your claim videos? I don't know. On my videos, you can probably listen to them. You can probably hear what I have to say. I mean, I'm not building a rocket ship. If you're talking about my videos and how my videos can be scary to people, I mean, sometimes no? Or do you just mean in general? Like, do you just mean in general? Oh, okay, not for me specifically. Okay. I was like, look, man, I'm sorry. I don't know what to do. I mean, just don't watch them. I mean, the fundamental thing that I'm going to tell you is you will not know how this plays out. The VA is not going, we do not need to know how this is going to play out. We won't. So this is going to die down. People are doing this for clicks. That's fine. People started doing it for clicks. I started going, well, wait a minute. That's not how that's going to go down, because Doug Collins will not sit before Congress going, yeah, I got 50,000 fraud over here, but I didn't want to pursue it. They'll lose their minds. So I just not watch it. Fraud's going to be reviewed for. And the only thing that I would suggest to veterans is if you went through a company or an agency and you have concerns, start building your evidence to support whatever that DBQ said. Okay? Start just organizing your evidence to support it. If that DBQ that could technically be fraudulent had you at 40 range of motion, then you might want to go start talking to your doctor about 40 range of motion, or if that's true. I mean, you can email me. I mean, I don't know. It's fine. But that's the thing with these videos. Okay. They're like, everything is fine. Okay. And I disagree with them, and that's fine. I mean, they can have their opinion. I can have mine. Mine is, I think everything is not fine for some people, and those people should be strengthening their evidence. I think everybody should be strengthening their evidence. If you have X, Y, and Z, you should honestly be able to prove that you have X, Y, and Z. It's 2026. This is the way they want it. This is how they're going to get. Sorry. Sometimes, oh wait, I'm trying to think of how that goes. That's the way he wants it, so that's the way he gets it. Oh my gosh. Okay. Truckin', thank you for becoming a member. Cruisin', thank you for being a member for 6 months. My friend was denied 25 years ago. We found in-service medical evidence. His denial says no evidence found. Can we go for back pay if rated? You can, if that evidence was there at the time, you might be able to do a clear and unmistakable error. But If it's a presumptive condition, maybe. If not, then the odds lower drastically, unfortunately. But you'd have to call it as a clear and unmistakable error for it to have any chance of going back in time. Because 38 CFR 3.2501 for supplemental claims, or even for like higher level reviews, they don't work that way. A difference of opinion or duty to assist could potentially bypass that, but it can be very challenging to go back based upon that fact pattern alone. Backwoods Law, thank you for being a member for 4 months. And Cruisin, thank you for donating a membership. Okay, guys, I unfortunately do have to go here. We're going to have our normal scheduled live stream on Saturday night to answer questions. So one of the things I want you to think about is if you come early, I'll typically I'll have Saturday's live stream up. You can post questions in there early and I'll answer them. I answer them before the show even starts. So I'll just do the @ sign and then just answer your name and then answer them. Yeah. So, but that's about all I got for you guys tonight on this impromptu live stream. Definitely, there's a lot of content creators in here tonight. Go watch their videos. We got the Salty Old Marine. We got Hervet's Voice. We got the Green Log Book. And we've got Mr. Dwayne Kimball. Go check them all out. Definitely great stuff. I did say digital. I answered digital's question, I thought. I answered it. It was the one with the hand, and it was about the. Hold on, let me find this real quick. Like it was this one, right? I thought I answered it, but yeah, it was the weight question. I thought it could be a different one. I mean, a lot of people ask a lot of questions. So, but hey, thanks for keeping me honest. Okay, you gotta keep me honest every once in a while. I want to try to answer as many questions as possible. All right, guys, that's about all I got for you tonight. Raider out.